As the search continues, locals in Bright are doing their own soul-searching about their town and how it's come to this.
This is on a different level. This is so much more personal. It's just shocking.
I think it was hard to believe. We never, ever thought something like this would happen in Australia, let alone here in our little Bright bubble.
You know, all the problems that everyone's ever had with the law is because the hierarchy of law gets upended.
Desi Freeman, a 56-year-old sovereign citizen with self-proclaimed anti-government and anti-authority views,
I'll just finish
I don't want to create a big scene.
allegedly shot dead 2 police officers, Neil Thompson and Vadim Devart, at a semi-rural property in nearby Pawnpukka before disappearing into the bushland. Hundreds of police officers have descended on the area in one of the state's largest ever manhunts. Freeman is still at large. The sovereign citizen movement is something local pharmacist Phil Bardsley-Smith is well aware of in his community.
It is this unrest and disquiet since COVID, and has been not the resurgence, but the increasing number of individuals in our community that identify with this sovereign citizen movement, I guess, and that's getting a lot of press at the moment. But and until recently, it's not something that many people would be aware of or know of.
Locals say lockdowns and mandated vaccines during the pandemic caused tension and friction in the community.
But it became pretty clear that he was connected with other people in town. And I suppose that started bringing up thoughts of past areas of when people were a bit anti-authoritarian during the COVID period.
But some of these other people who had different views, their anger just continued on and seemed to grow, and I could never work out why are they still so angry? Why is their anger seems to be increasing, not decreasing?
The Bright chiropractor who brought the charge.
In 2021 in Myrtleford, former Bright chiropractor Anthony Herman launched a failed prosecution of then Premier Daniel Andrews for treason and fraud. Desi Freeman was arrested outside the courthouse. During the pandemic, Phil Bardsley-Smith was seeing misinformation spreading in his community about vaccines and public health measures and felt obligated to counter it. He was targeted at the time, and it didn't end after COVID. It's continued up until this year.
I was essentially approached entering into the supermarket. Then it just launched into a tirade against me and a lot of things, none of which kind of made sense, but they're often personal attacks.
Phil says a prominent figure in the anti-vaccine movement in the Ovens Valley confronted him at Woolworths in Bright.
The hurtful words that were said were along the lines of that I'm not a good person, I'm not a good husband, I'm not a good father to my children. It went throughout the supermarket and it got really personal often. And it continued. I went and did the rest of my shopping, came back for something that I'd forgotten, and it just continued again.
Local residents say Bright has weathered crises like bushfires and floods, but this fatal police shooting is different, allegedly carried out by a man who lived amongst them and who proudly defied authority.
If you can go about creating your own set of rules, it's a very slippery slope. And as we can see, and as we have seen in the past, is that it's not too far away for some individuals on the fringe to take it far too far.
Has that ideology or worldview damaged this community?
My hope is that it hasn't.
Does this region have a greater number of people with that type of worldview?
I think that's a question for us here as well.
Yeah.
Because some of these people are so high profile and so articulate and have been so well connected in the community, it feels like we do have a lot. But maybe they're just the
vocal minority.
Minority.
Yeah, I think personally, I think they're a small minority.
Since the shooting, police are never far away. An information bus has been set up in the centre of Bright. At night, the presence of Viper Task Force detectives questioning people in shop fronts. At the start of the week, police revealed they suspected people were helping to harbour the fugitive at the centre of this manhunt. They believe his associates know where he is.
Victoria Police have searched over 100 properties to date in a very short period of time. We have established a very good picture or understanding of locations previously frequented, associates and friends.
In your investigations, have you seen that there is a greater prevalence of that type of ideology in this region?
Look, we know those type of people like to live more remotely and off the grid, so I think that should answer that question.
These tourist towns, sensitive to how their picturesque patch is perceived, are already seeing a downturn in visitors.
But I think this will, the sound of helicopters will hurt this community for some time to come. Are people confused about who this community is and what we offer? We're the same place we were last year. We're the same place we were 10 years ago. Fortunately, we've just had a one-off situation where, we certainly don't want to be tarred with.
The long-term impact is still to play out.
I don't think it's going to become, an overriding part of our image or our reputation going forward, and at least I really hope not.